This is an exciting day. Right now with me is Justin Krieger, Marketing Development Representative at Bayer. Justin, you're out in Saskatoon, and we're probably close to the into the second week of July. What are you seeing out there?
Well, so the crops out here are looking good. The focus of this interview was on flea beetles. So this year it's kind of been, variable out here in Saskatoon. We've done a lot of trial work looking at flea beetle feeding and stuff like that. Our first trials that we seeded had major flea beetle feeding. It was everything that you wanted for in a research plot, but then kind of like the rest of Western Canada, the winds kind of came and kind of destroyed everything. But, we had some good feedings. We've done multiple timings out there. In some key geographies, the flea beetles have been, quite extensive, where in other areas there hasn't been. And a lot of it's been weather dependent. If growers were getting good moisture and the crops were growing fast, the canola had an opportunity to kind of outgrow the feeding, where in other areas where it's been dry and the canola kind of just pops out of the ground and sits there, that's where we've been running into issues with flea beetles, because the canola really hasn't been advancing as fast as you'd like it to be, and flea beetles have kind of just been sitting there chewing on it for weeks. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is scouting. And it doesn't take a lot of time, especially under heavy feeding, to lose quite a few plants out in your field. So one of the best recommendations is to go and look at your fields early, especially the fields that are seeded, kind of your first few fields that you're seeding for the year, because that's when your pressure is probably going to be the highest. That's when the flea beetles are it's the first major food source that they've had for the year coming out. So that would be the key, early scouting. And take a look at the edges of the fields, because that's where most of the flea beetles will be coming in from the ditches and the higher trash areas where these beetles have been essentially overwintering in the trash, being happy. There's two major flea beetle species out there. There's the striped and the crucifer. Those are your kind of two major flea beetles out there. The striped tend to be a little bit more aggressive and hungry, and they're not seem to be as affected by some of the seed treatments that we have out there right now. So definitely keep an eye on what kind of species you have in the field, and if you have striped, chances are you're probably going to get maybe a little bit more feeding than if you had strictly crucifer. But it all depends on populations at the end of the day. Looking for symptoms on the plants, we always called it like the shotgun approach. There's lots of little holes on, more specifically, the cotyledons, the first leaves that kind of come out of the ground. Those are the ones that you're trying to protect, because that's the only thing that's really helping this plant grow when it's small. So just watch. Kind of the decision making time is around 25% feeding. 50% you probably should be spraying an insecticide to help protect your crop if the feeding is high. And it doesn't take long for 25% to 50%. It could be within a matter of days, depending on how bad the feeding is out in the field. A lot of the work that we're doing right now is on a new insecticide seed treatment called Buteo Start, which the active ingredient is flupyradifuron. And in the trials that we've been looking at, it's done a phenomenal job against both striped and crucifer flea beetles. I've never seen a seed treatment have such a dramatic effect on flea beetles as this new product that Bayer's been working on. Whoever decides to put it on their seed, I know it'll be on DeKalb seed for sure as an option. And it's night and day in areas where there's high flea beetle pressure. A lot of the commercial options that are out there right now, you could barely find a plant. The flea beetles essentially decimated the trials, and Buteo Start was really the only treatment that actually had a nice healthy plant stand. And it's very exciting, especially in the seed treatment world, to see something like that so dramatic, because sometimes you'll be looking at different actives and can you see a difference there? Yes, no, maybe. But with this new active ingredient, I personally think it's going to be a game changer out there for canola growers, just because it's such an effective active ingredient on flea beetles.
When you ran those side-by-side trials, what kind of yield difference did you find?
It's so dramatic that some people might not even believe what we're looking at. I guess everybody's going to have an opportunity to see it probably next year or even a little bit this year. But the plots that had Buteo were the only ones that were even like worth combining, because there was so few plants left in the rest of the plots that we never really did.
All right, well, that's great. Appreciate the input there, and your help on kind of understanding what the issues are with flea beetles this year, and the exciting opportunities for next year. Is there anything else you want to touch on, Justin, before we go?
Well, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about Buteo Start, just because it's so new it's going to be new into the marketplace this year. The active ingredient is flupyradifuron. It's in the insecticide group 4D. So it works a little bit different than your 4As or your neonicotinoid seed treatments that are out there right now. So it's not classified as a neonicotinoid. It's very very flea beetle specific. If you combine that with Prosper, you're going to have a nice 1-2 punch, two actives against your flea beetles, which will help. It doesn't. One of the reasons why it works so great is it doesn't need a lot of water to be uptaken into the plant, and that's why it's been working so good in especially last year and in pockets this year where it's been so dry. It takes very little amount of water for this active ingredient to be sucked up into the plant, and that's where we're seeing it shine, is in these drier conditions, and that's where flea beetle pressure and feeding is high, a lot higher in drier conditions than it is in moisture.
Well, thank you so much, Justin, for joining me. We hope to talk to you again really soon, and have a wonderful day.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.